Hi everyone, welcome back to the Prologue to Wellness podcast, the podcast where we will deal with real questions and ask the hard questions. Today we have Dr. Odelia with us. Dr. Odelia is our medical director at Prologue, and we're going to talk about something really juicy today. We're going to talk about fat genes. Here's a spoiler, your DNA does not play a part, but let's see what we can get out of the DNA results that you might have and what is actually fat genes. Is it real? Dr. Odelia, is fat genes real?
Well, thanks for having me here today. And that's a topic that I think a lot of people have thought about it. And also, I think it's a conversation that a lot of people, they don't really dare to talk about. They may look at their friends, their family, and wonder why some tend to gain weight easily. Some tend to eat everything and they're okay. So the basic thing is that there is some genetic components to our fat metabolism and how we use our body energy. So to say yes, there are certain genes that are related to weight. And the common type of genes that are related to obesity, they're actually called polygenic genes. So it means that there are many genes interacting with each other on different parts of our DNA and also interacts with our environment. So it's a combination of various factors together. Medically, there are certain genes that are more predominant or monogenetic forms of obesity, but those are a bit rarer, a lot rarer actually, and it tend to present like during younger days when the patient's during childhood, and then the rate of obesity is actually higher. But for the common obesity that we are seeing, yes, there's a genetic basis for that, but a lot of times it's also influenced by many additional factors. There is a saying that genes actually load the gun, but the environment's the one that pulls the trigger. So I think that's the one that we are actually focusing more on today.
Which is the environment as well.
Environment,
right?
yes, correct.
Okay, but you brought up about fat and metabolism that is genetic. So metabolism is also genetic, is that right?
There is a genetic basis to that in terms of how our body uses the energy and also how our body also responds to different food cues, for example, satiety cues and hunger cues. But at the end of the day, it's influenced a lot by our environment and also how our body is. So for example, you may have a metabolism at a certain rate, but it's also influenced by your muscle mass, because muscle mass is a metabolically active part of our body. And so that will also determine whether your metabolism is faster or slower as well.
So the more muscles you have, the faster you can burn your calories, basically.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, and let's say if I'm born with fat genes, what can I do? Like, is there anything I can do about it, or am I just going to live my whole life fat?
So what you have brought up is a challenge I think many people face. So number one, we have more power in our hands than we actually know. So for example, our lifestyle play a very huge part. So in terms of lifestyle, we look at a few components. For example, what you eat, how you move, your sleep and stress. So we boil down to what you eat. So the choices of food are definitely very important. Choose a healthy diet, something that's balanced. Look at the healthy plate for reference. And also the type of food that you take. Choose those in terms of less fried, more whole foods, and less processed food. Also, protein is an important part that you can incorporate into your diet, because your body takes more energy to burn protein. So protein actually is a way that you can fuel your body, feel full longer, get a lot of basis for you to build your muscle mass as well, and also help your body burn more energy.
Okay. Does that mean that if I have fat genes, I actually do need to work harder in terms of all my lifestyle habits?
In short, the answer is yes. But at the same time, I think for even someone with a normal rate of metabolism, our lives are very busy, and we are in an age where we are surrounded by so many different choices, which may actually pose a challenge to leading a healthy life. So at the end of the day, everyone should start cultivating a healthy habit from young, and even if you find that you haven't been doing so, it's never too late to start.
Okay, so let's say if I think, I suspect that, because my friend is eating so much, I am eating the same, but I am gaining weight. How do I know if I have fat genes and if I'm born with it? Like, are there tests that I can do?
So usually we will look at your lifestyle first, and also you can also see a doctor to see what are any particular underlying health conditions that you may be looking at. So for example, by doing a simple cholesterol test, you can see what other levels are. And if, for example, it's a very, very high level, or there's a very strong family history, then there are certain tests outside that you can test for any genetic or DNA mutations that may lead you to have a higher cholesterol reading. Other things that you may look at would be any hormonal testing. For example, one very common thing is thyroid thyroid. So for example, if your thyroid levels are low, your metabolism is slower, everything will move slower, and it's easier for you to gain weight.
Okay. So, and these are usually done through health screening tests?
Health screening for thyroid, and for further testing in terms of any issues for familial hypercholesterolemia, that one's usually done in the hospital setting.
Okay. So health screening, I think we're all encouraged to do it annually, but there's also a trend of understanding your DNA. There are DNA tests that are out there. Anything that we can gain from such tests?
So for those tests, it's a good overview of how your health condition is. It gives you an idea of what you may be predisposed to, but it may not give you the full picture. So for example, it gives you a good direction as to what are the various aspects of your lifestyle that you want to focus on. But if you want to find out further information about whether you truly have your cardiovascular risk factors, your actual level of your sugar, your cholesterol, or your vitamin D, then it's important to come for a routine health screening.
Okay. So let's say if I am not ready yet for health screening or any tests of sorts, what are some things I can look out for to know whether I have fat genes? For example, like looking around my family and just observe if everyone is fat.
That is true. So looking at how your family is gives you a good idea about how your body actually acts, because your family also lives in the same environment as you. So from then you can actually look at two main factors, whether it runs in the family or whether it's affected by the environment that you grew up in. Secondly, you can also look at improving your own health. After assessing your own health, either through a screening or, for example, looking at your BMI or your body composition, you can look and focus on the different aspects of lifestyle. So we've discussed earlier about diet, but physical activity is also very important. And this is divided into two categories: your exercise as well as your reduction of your sedentary time. So exercise is good to do cardiovascular exercise, for example, running, jogging, etc. But equally important and much neglected actually is strength training. So it's very, very important to build your muscle mass, because that contributes to a better metabolism as well. And finally, flexibility and balance would be another group of exercise that we should also look into. For those who are very busy and find it hard to carve out time for exercise, you can first take the first step of reducing your sedentary time. So that's the time that you spend sitting and not doing much activity. So you can look at reducing the amount of time you spend sitting by standing up, walking, increasing your steps. So that would be one way of tracking how you're doing in terms of getting your body moving.
So Dr. Odelia, you mentioned strength training is often neglected, right? So
correct.
I'm personally interested about that, because that helps to increase your muscle mass, i.e. then more metabolism. Is that something that everybody can do, even if they have fat genes or not?
Oh yes, absolutely. Right. So everyone should look at doing strength training at least twice a week. So if you're starting off, you can actually do very simple activities. For example, just using your own body weight. You can use free weights or even resistance bands. So strength training is not just for bodybuilders alone, but it's also very important for anyone at any stage of life, even if you're in your golden years or even the post-menopausal area, because that also helps with building your bone density and helps with the prevention of osteoporosis. At the same time, when you're looking at focusing on building muscle mass, you should also need to take in protein, because with the building blocks, right, then you can actually build the muscle when you do these strength training exercises. So that will also help increase your choices of food to be a healthier one, and also help your body increase its basal metabolism rate.
Okay. How about other lifestyle factors? Like, I've also heard that if you don't have enough sleep or if you're very stressed, you would gain weight.
That's actually true, because can you imagine after a night when you didn't have a good night's sleep, the next day you tend to be cranky, you tend to emotional eat, the type of food that you choose are also different, you tend to eat more. So number one, if you're tired, you're stressed, you tend to snack, and your choices of food is poorer. Then during that case, most of the time you feel very tired, lack of energy, and you find that you may not even have time to exercise. So simply put, right, if you have stress and poor sleep, it does affect your daily activities, your choices, and also how you lead your life. But that being said, right, with stress as well as poor sleep, it can also affect the hormonal balance in your body. Stress hormones such as cortisol can be higher, and this affects your insulin resistance and also how your body uses fat. That can also result in the deposition of fat in areas that are higher risk for cardio issues. So you may see that there's a lot of deposition of fat around the abdominal region.
I see, yeah. That's why they say if you are stressed, you get higher cortisol and then therefore higher storage of fat.
Yes.
But it happens usually in the abdominal area?
Yes, so there's a kind of fat called visceral fat.
Okay.
Fat is usually divided into two big categories. One is a subcutaneous. Cutaneous means under your skin. And the other one that's more concerning is that of around the abdominal region. And with age also, the way that your body uses fat is also different. So you can see that in the older individual, they tend to have fat around the abdominal region. And that's the one that lies deep in the abdomen, surrounds the organ, and is related to higher cardiovascular risk. So if you see for older individuals, they may have normal BMI, they look skinny in fact, but if you measure their muscle mass and their body fat percentage, or even the location of the fat, you notice that a lot of them have something called truncal obesity. So if you measure your waist circumference, you can see that it could be high, and that could be an indication of increased cardiovascular issues, even though your BMI can be normal.
I see. Okay. I remember this measurement of the waist circumference and all that in one of the tests that I've taken. So basically, there are so many tests out there that we can do. Like there are like DNA testing and body analysis, body composition analysis. Like how accurate are all these tests?
So there are different tests that are available out there, and accuracy depends on the type of testing, the laboratory, and also how you interpret the results as well. So what we have here at Prologue would be mainly the body composition analysis. So that gives you a good idea about the breakdown of your percentage of your body fat as well as the muscle distribution. It is quite accurate and almost comparable to that of the gold standard or the DEXA scan. So that's very important because it gives you an indirect measure of your basal metabolic rate, which is how your body uses calories and energy at a resting state. So that's the minimum that you need your body to function. There are various factors that it takes into consideration. For example, your gender, your age, your muscle mass, and your weight. So that this gives you an idea of what you need, what you should be eating at a basic level, and also more importantly, also gives you an indication of your muscle mass. So with that number, right, it goes beyond just the number on the weighing scale, which shows you your weight. It shows you like what is your muscle mass and also the distribution of the muscle mass. So you have an indication of whether you need to work your arms, your legs, or your trunk even further. And then also gives you an indication of your fat percentage as well as your visceral fat. So that gives you an idea of whether your metabolism is on the positive or whether there's an area for improvement in terms of your health from your muscle mass as well as your body fat percentage. There are also a few like DNA, direct-to-consumer like DNA testing, and then it gives a good idea of where you are, your potential in terms of getting certain conditions. And I think you have to take a step back and take it with a pinch of salt also, because that gives you a general idea of what you may be headed to, but that doesn't determine what your health will be and what your health is at this moment. So it's very important to also do a regular screening to see what your actual numbers, and also use it as not just as more like a motivation factor to know which direction you should work on in terms of your health overall.
I like that because that's not the be all and all. It's not like your destiny, but you can actually use that information and do something about it, basically.
Correct. Yes.
I think that's the beauty about what we have at Prologue as well, because it's the beginning of your story. It's the start of knowing your body first, but actually recommending and doing steps to change your lifestyle and your health, I would say.
So I think at the end of the day is to understand yourself first, and even though you may feel that certain factors may not be very favorable, understand that you are still in charge of your health. You have power to change and to rewrite your story. You may need a little bit more effort as compared to someone else, but it doesn't mean that you cannot do it. And empowerment actually begins with the first step of understanding. The next important step is what to do with this information. And action is something that I think everyone can do it, especially with the right support. So come, have a chat with your healthcare provider, with someone you trust, and to work on a plan that's suitable for you. Because change is actually possible, and you always learn something along the way. So at the end of the day, right, your health is something that is very precious to everyone, and then we are here to help you make it possible.
That's very nice. Thank you, Odelia. Thanks, Dr. Odelia, for sharing all the insights here. I think the most beautiful that I took away is that the change is actually very possible, and it's just the beginning of your health story. And that's all we have for you today at the Prologue to Wellness podcast. Thank you, Dr. Odelia, for sharing all your insights with us. But if you have any further questions, feel free to leave a comment. You can DM us, you can ask us anything that you are struggling with. And do know that if you're struggling, you are not struggling alone. Feel free to reach out to us and your healthcare professionals at Prologue, who are more than happy to help you. If you found this episode interesting or insightful, feel free to share this, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram as well at Prologue to Wellness. Till then, take care and be well.